Well, good morning everyone. Welcome back to Pine Hollow Auto Diagnostics. This Nissan XTerra, the shop owner said, the owner picked it up, drove it around, check engine light popped back on the next day. However, it's a different code. So we fixed the rich code with the little resistors on the mass airflow sensor. That worked out perfect. But now that problem's fixed, so the EVAP and the catalyst monitors finally ran. So I kind of had a feeling we weren't done with this truck, so I'm stopping by on my way back to Pennsylvania to diagnose the next problem. This time it's setting code in the EVAP system. And I'm using the Veris today because unfortunately the ThinkTool Pro's little Bluetooth dongle is here. And then when the shop owner, he was taking it for a test drive, I was in the passenger seat, kind of slammed the door and the dongle is right here and it no longer talks to the scanner. So ThinkTool is out of commission for today, so we're going back to old trusty Snap-on. What's the code? P1491 VC cut / valve bypass valve fault. Okay, so we'll write that down and take a look in service info what that is. We can go to generic functions and see if the readiness monitors, which ones have passed and which ones are incomplete, because the shop owner said that a P0430 code was pending or something, but I haven't seen that in the scan data yet. And we'll see monitors complete since DTC is cleared. Yeah, it's not a CAN vehicle, so the communication is just a little bit slow. So we'll see catalyst is complete, EVAP not complete. Everything else is complete. O2 sensors, misfire, EGR system, O2 heater. So I think we're just dealing with this EVAP code. That's pretty cool how in Snap-on you can go into OBD2 from the Nissan OEM menu here. Let's look up that code and see how we go about diagnosing this. Alright, just doing a quick little research on my phone. P1491 vacuum cut valve bypass valve. Here's a description. So EVAP canister, vacuum cut valve, bypass valve. Okay. Read all about that. Installed in parallel on the EVAP purge line between the fuel tank and the EVAP canister. Vacuum cut valve prevents the intake manifold vacuum from being applied to the fuel tank. Okay, that makes sense. And then the vacuum cut valve bypass valve is a solenoid type valve that generally remains closed. It opens only up for onboard diagnostics. So the ECM opens that up. Here's a little diagram. So if in normal operation, I'm assuming the vent control valve stays open and this bypass valve is closed. We have normal, fuel tank vapors come here, it's stored in the canister, and then through the purge solenoid they get sucked into the intake manifold and the canister gets vented out. During testing, EVAP testing, this closes down, the purge opens up, creates a vacuum in the canister, and then at some point this cut valve bypass valve is energized, and that actually opens up and allows the vacuum to be also drawn from the tank. And I'm sure the fuel tank pressure sensor right there monitors that. So first you get high vacuum, this opens up, the vacuum drops, and then it builds again, something like that. And this code is a rationality code. It says vacuum cut valve bypass valve does not operate properly. It could be a clogged hose, it could be bad valve, maybe rust jacking, whatever. It's not a circuit code. The circuit code, it can actually set a separate one. If you go to 1490, so it's almost the same code, but see right there, it says trouble diagnosis name vacuum cut valve bypass valve circuit. It's not a 1490, we have a 1491. So right away, if we have a bidirectional test, I haven't used a snap-on in a while here. Here we go, bypass valve, vent control valve, purge control valve. So let's just, try the vent, see if the scanner works, see if we can hear it click. And we'll try that bypass valve, see if we can hear that click. If we can't, we're just going to do a visual inspection on it, maybe manually try to energize it. Okay. I assume the vent is somewhere back here. So I'm going to say on. Yep. On. Off. Very nice click. Perfect. So the vent valve works fine. Let's try this bypass valve. Let's see if it clicks. See if it's at least moving. I wouldn't be surprised that under here in upstate New York, that valve could have just completely got rusted solid. And electrically it might be good, but mechanically it's probably not moving. Here we go, on, off, on, off. Absolutely no clicks. That's a great direction. Let's get under the truck, find this valve, unplug it, you manually energize it, put a test light on those two wires, see if the scanner can turn on the test light on and off. I think it's just going to be a simple mechanically stuck, rusted, seized EVAP valve. Alright, we're under the truck. There's the pumpkin. Here's where the spare tire used to be. Yep, upstate New York vehicle. And right here is the vacuum cut valve. That's the mechanical part. And then you see two hoses coming off the back of that. They go to this little rusty hunk of junk right here. That's that electrically controlled bypass valve. There's the green connector. And this thing looks like a chunk of rust, so I'm not surprised it's not moving. We can disconnect it. We got to get it off of here anyways and say you need one of these. Pretty easy diagnosis here. We want to make, but there's no circuit code, it's just mechanically stuck. We can put a test light in the connector, make sure the test light comes on and off, but this is exactly what I expected to find on this vehicle. These Nissan connectors are sometimes notoriously difficult to unclip, especially if they have junk like dirt and grime in them. So this little thing you have to depress all the way in, and then that should release it, but it's not. I don't want to damage anything, but I'll tell the shop owner get a new one of these, plug it into the hoses, and go from there. So that should take care of this Nissan. Alright, managed to get the rusty hunk of junk bypass valve off, and just to prove the concept that the circuit's okay, we have a test light across the two pins, a little baby test light, 300 milliamp. I'm going to do a bidirectional test. Yep, exactly like I thought. There's no circuit code. Circuit's perfect. This thing is obviously has seen better days. So hoping that's the last thing on this Nissan to get it past the emissions inspection. But let's start it, run it, and look at the oxygen sensors as the cats warm up. We'll see if these cats are borderline or if they're still working okay. Just to give the owner and the shop owner here a heads up, he need to deal with this problem very soon. Oh, check it out. The 1490 set right away, so that must be a quick, the truck does that check very quickly just for the circuit. This is a rationality check where it's mechanically stuck, the circuit's still okay. Alright, let's start up the truck, look at some generic OBD2 data, specifically the oxygen sensors, fuel trims, mass airflow. So the trick with the resistors definitely took care of the P0172 code. So we'll warm it up. Data transfer here is quite slow. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So about 3 seconds per data point. So oxygen sensors are going to look kind of weird, not a nice sine wave because they oscillate at faster than once every 3 seconds. But either way, we'll just look at the graphs here. There we go. So looking pretty good during the warm-up. The upstream oxygen sensors doing their thing. Downstreams are still asleep. Fuel trims are single digits. Well, yeah, about minus 10%, so our resistor is not perfect, but it's not setting a code, so that's fine. Let's just look at all the voltages. Rev it up. I'll show you guys when these wake up what they do. Oh, look at this. Bank 1 sensor 2 is stuck at 0 now. Bank 2 sensor 2 is not stuck at 0. So what the heck is up with this? Oh, so at idle decided to wake up there. See what happens. If we save this data. So I'm just going to hold the RPMs up a little bit. Look at that. Stuck at 0 when the RPMs are raised. Very curious. And he said it was setting at 430 for this one. For this one, it actually passed. There might be an exhaust leak on bank 1 before the downstream sensor. Let me take a look under the truck. Alright, so this over here is bank 1. Bank 1 sensor 1's up here. Bank 1 sensor 2 is buried, but the connector comes right up here. And if you raise the idle speed, you'll see bank 1 sensor 2 just stays low. Okay, now is there a leak? Exhaust leak after the upstream, before the downstream? I couldn't find any. Anything's possible though. You know, those cats are old and maybe there's some pinhole, I don't know. I couldn't visually or audibly hear it. A cool check to do is just unplug the sensor and make sure the data responds accordingly. Do that. It's kind of ridiculous. So look at this one down here. When I unplug the sensor, it should go to the bias voltage. So this should go up to 300 millivolts, like rock steady, and it does. So we're definitely on the right sensor. This is bank 1, that's sensor 2. If I plug it back in, it should come back to life and read whatever. There you go. So I don't know, if the truck is happy with that, I wouldn't really care. Just replace that EVAP solenoid and move on with life. So thanks a lot for watching. That was kind of like, not really a double comeback, but it's just a pain in the ass. So thanks a lot for watching. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye. Oh, the Danger Ranger is back. If you remember last time, the PCM was obviously replaced. It runs great. Now the ABS light is on. You might ask, who cares about an ABS light on a 1994 pickup truck? Just pull a damn bulb out. Well, this owner is very particular. He wants it right. So last time, if you remember, took a quick look at it, didn't do the full diagnosis, and I said there's no continuity through, that was a code number 4. I'm saying there's no continuity through this isolation valve little resistor here. They replaced this whole proportioning valve switch assembly on the frame rail and this module, the RABS module under the dash, and that code was still there. So this time I actually took the time to diagnose it. It wasn't a hard diagnosis. Indeed, there was an open circuit. If you measure from here, you're supposed to have 22 kilo ohms through this resistor. And we can see that. You know, how do I know it's 22 kilo ohms? If you look at system diagram, I think it's in here. Right there, 22 kilo ohms. It was open circuit. Well, so from here to here the wire is good, but this black and white is supposed to be a ground. It was missing. The ground was not there. It goes through connector C101, C109, and what I found was C109 under this fuse box. This, you see these two wires go to C109. It's just a 2-pin ground connector. It was unplugged, so should have just diagnosed that last time. Restored the ground. Code number 4 is no longer there. Shop owner here took the truck for a couple test drives, and on the second day, the ABS light came on again. What was the code? Different code. So to flash these codes, turn the key on, there's the bulb. If it stays lit, there's a problem, like that. Take your test light, disconnect this test connector, black with an orange stripe. When I ground this for 2 seconds, that light should start flashing a code. Let's see what it flashes. Okay, reset. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So code number 12. What the heck is code number 12? Let's look that up in service info and see why there's another code. Alright, here we go. So the first time it had this code 4. Valve reset circuit, open or ground. Yes, it was an open circuit. The ground connector was unplugged by the fuse box. Now we have a code 12. Loss of hydraulic fluid during anti-lock stop. See this. Basically, you go through the flow chart. Here we go. It's wiring related. There's a master cylinder fluid level switch. So it senses the fluid level. If it's grounded, it'll say, hey, you're low on fluid. It also controls the brake warning light bulb. So this is hot at all times. If this is grounded through the diode, again, your red regular warning lamp will turn on. So is there a problem in this circuit? I went right for the master cylinder reservoir, pulled out this connector, and found that all 3 pins were shot. The little springs just fell right off. they're just corroded, and I don't know, eventually they just snap off from vibration. So these were not making contact in there whatsoever. Now, can we prove that, you know, this is usually not grounded because the fluid level is fine. However, these two wires, dark green and yellow, and that tan and light green, dark green and yellow, they're supposed to be tied together inside this master cylinder assembly, inside the switch. Right now, they're obviously not tied together because the pins were broken. Will that set the code right away? Easy check to do is just tie those two pins together, and the easiest way to do that is just put them on top of each other, put a clamp kind of like this. Okay, let's see if the code went away. No bulb. And if we do our little ground, so that's it. No code stored. In the OEM service info, it said if it flashes 16, then it's okay. Apparently it's not flashing anything. It's happy when you connect those two pins under there. What's the solution? Well, ideally you would replace this pigtail, you know, all the pins and the connector, but where are you going to get one of those? So for now, what I want to do is, with some pliers, needle nose pliers, just close these pins up until hopefully they'll make a good contact with the male pins inside this connector. We'll plug it in. We do a drag check, you know, close them up, just do a drag check individually. If that works, this truck will be fixed. Alright, here we go. Let's see what we can do. So, I guess close these up. Just kind of smush together. And I'm going to try to get it on the pin here. See if we can get it on the pin. Make sure it's a nice fit. Easier said than done. See if we can do this, no parts required. Alright, all the pins are plugged back in. They passed the drag test there, so let's see if the ABS light stays on or off. So off. It's happy. Crazy stuff. And I'll plug this back in. This is actually the keep alive memory for the ABS. You don't really need it, I guess, but I'll restore it to factory spec here. And shut off. Oh, these ignition switches are always fun. And when I crank it, the brake and the ABS light should come on as a bulb check. Yes, they do. Perfect. Alright, we're done here. Old cars, it's 9 times out of 10 is going to be a connection problem, a bad ground, usually no parts required, but you still have to do the diagnosis. You can't just assume stuff like that. It's just, you know, unplugged ground connector. You would assume it's Northeast truck big, hey, you know, it's a bad ground. Well, yeah, it was a bad ground, but it's an easy fix. So, thanks a lot for watching. We'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.